Let me see if I can get a good spot on this camera. Oh, let's turn that on. Oh, let's turn that. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna make some bread. I gotta get this hooked up. Okay, I can at least. Okay, so it seems like I can see everything right here, pretty much, which is fine. That's pretty much what I need. Okay, so we're gonna make some bread. Now, just remember, cooking isn't a particular art. Well, I mean, it is an art, but everybody does it different. So, a lot of times, and I don't consider myself like a great cook, but I know how to do a few things. But a lot of people take things that they see or learn new recipes and kind of put their own twist on it. So don't take anything I'm explaining, you know, like, oh my god, we gotta do it just right. Because that's not really how it works, you know. So I make some homemade bread, white bread. I've kind of modified this over the years that I've been making it too. But, let's see here. I think I flipped to the wrong page. Okay, so, the things you're going to need. Number one, it's not really that hard to get it going. I use unbleached all-purpose flour. Okay, unbleached is better for bread. Like I said, not everybody might think that, but I personally think that the unbleached stuff is kind of better for it. So I'm going to go ahead and open it, because this actually is bag. You're going to need 2 packets of yeast. Okay. Now, I use Fleischmann's, but Great Value has, or not, well, yeah, Walmart. Walmart has cheap ones. You can find cheap ones anywhere, but I consider Fleischmann's like cream of the crop. Okay, but you want the best. And that's, once again, personal experience. So I have my yeast, I have my flour open. Now, not everybody does this, but I do, I kind of substitute some of the white sugar and add a little brown sugar in too, because it kind of helps keep it moist. It kind of hold it together. But you don't want to overdo it on it either, because it can also make the bread very heavy. So use that. If you don't have to use dark brown. Like I said, I don't do the entire thing dark brown, but I like using it because it makes it a little bit more moist and kind of gives it a little bit more fluffiness if you don't, you know, use too much. So if you feel uncomfortable using brown sugar, just do the regular sugar amount. And we'll get to that when we get there. But I have my brown sugar. You will need vegetable oil. Okay, not very much. This is sugar, regular sugar. And you're going to need salt. Now, I'm going to get my pans out. Actually, no, I'll do that after we get going here. Okay, so I have to consult my cookbook real quick. Once again, I've done it here and there, and, you know, I made my own thing. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to start with the yeast, okay? Not everybody has a mixer. It's a lot easier with it's 100% easier with this. Any type of dough hook, because it just mixes it faster. You don't have to sit there and baby it. I mean, a mixer would make it very easy for you, but you can make it without it, no problem. I used to. It just takes a little bit more hard work. But other than that, so the first thing we're going to start off with is warm water and yeast. Okay? Well, actually, you kind of do all of it together. So, but the yeast is going in first. Now, you want to put 2 cups of warm water in this. Now, I have recently started trying milk, because milk is supposed to also help keep the cake, you know, a little bit lively. And I'm going to go with milk, but if you don't want to use milk, you can always use 2 cups of warm water instead. You're not using a lot. It's just 2 cups. But you can pick if you want to try it. I actually haven't done it with milk, but a couple people recommended it to me. So I'm going to give it a shot. But normally I do use 2 cups of warm water. We are going to have to heat the milk up a little bit, because the cold will kill the bacteria in the yeast. And then you're not going to make very much bread, because it has to rise. So I'm going to put 2 cups of milk in a, well, obviously microwavable container. Now remember, you don't want it too hot, okay? Even with the water, you want warm water, not hot water, because anything too hot will kill the bacteria in the yeast. So you won't be making it very far if you kill the yeast, because the bread will never rise. I'm going to nuke it. No. I'm going to start off easy here. I'm going to go with 50 seconds. Now, while you wait on that to heat up, which normally I don't do it because I don't always use it, but I'm using it this time. So while I wait for that, you're going to take your yeast. I add the yeast last, but in the beginning of the part, in the beginning of cooking, or doing this in general, you start with the yeast and kind of like all your grainy stuff, like salt, sugar, etc. So I'm going to do salt first, okay? I'm going to get my measuring cups and measuring spoons. This is a hand-me-down recipe that's been modified over the years, just so you know. So you will want a teaspoon of salt, okay? Now, this should make 2 loaves if you do it right. So you want 2 bread pans, but we'll get to that later. Okay, let's see what my milk says. Actually, it's a lot warmer. That was 50, so I'm going to go for 20 and see what happens. A teaspoon of salt. Okay, so I'm going to put some salt in here. You don't want to overdo it, but I mean, if you overlap a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. But you do want to get things pretty precise. So that's 1 teaspoon of salt in the thing. I'm done with the salt. I'm not going to need it again, so I'm going to put it up. Let's see what the milk's going to say. Oh, I can tell she warmed up fast. That's very nice. Okay, so it's cold. That's another 50. I mean, it was cold. Alright. Now, I'm going to get some water because I'm thirsty. I'll be right back. Okay, now. So the salt's in there. The next grainy thing you're going to want to do is sugar. Okay? Now, let me see. Let me see what I got here. Okay, so for the sugar, like I said, I've been starting to use brown sugar as well. What you want is a quarter cup of sugar. Okay, I usually use just regular old sugar. Okay, now you can use all white if you want. So like I said, if you want to add a little brown sugar to it, I have found that it kind of helps moisten a little bit, makes a little bit. But if you use too much, it does weigh it down and kind of ruins it. Brown sugar is very heavy. Okay, this is done, but it's very hot. It's not very hot, but it's hot enough to kill the yeast. And you don't want to kill the yeast. The yeast is dead, nothing's going to go. So I'm going to put this aside for now, but I am going to need it. I try to save the yeast for last because as soon as you open it, it's being exposed to the elements. And you just don't want to do that more than you have to. So, this is kind of how I do it with the sugar, okay? I usually do a quarter cup of sugar, and if you're not going to use brown sugar, then you want to use the whole cup for sugar. But what I do is I fill it about just a little bit. I try not to overdo it, you know. I don't want it half brown sugar, you know, but I'd say about a quarter of the quarter cup is about how much white sugar I put in. And then, you know, I kind of fill the bottom of the quarter cup with the sugar in the bowl. I throw stuff on the floor because it's easier that way. Okay, so now you don't want to pack it up. You kind of want to get it. You want to get it a little loose. You know what I mean? Okay. Now, once it's loose and you broke it up and it's a little bit more grainy again. Now look, you're not going to get this perfect. Nobody gets it perfect. But, you know, just the bottom, you know, you don't need a lot. You're just adding it for you know, purposes. So you don't have to overdo it. Okay, there's our sugar. So both of those are done. Clean up as you go. It makes it a lot easier. So I'm putting my white sugar back because I'm done with that. And I'm going to put my brown sugar back because I'm done with that. I had a container for this, but I'm not going to look 2 hours for it. Okay, now. Salt, sugar, and of course we need the milk and the yeast. Now, so we're on the finishing part of this particular step, okay? This is about it for the beginning. And you can't just, it takes time. There's some increments that you got to take into consideration. Like once you get the yeast going, you're going to have to let it sit, for 20 or 30 minutes. So plan to come back. It's not a project you can just throw together all at once. You're going to have to, get to one point, go find something to do for a little bit, but don't forget, and then come back and do the next part. Okay, so with the sugar and salt in there and the milk warmed up, I'm going to check it again, but really all you're starting off here with is a 1/4 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of milk or water. Don't use both. So 2 cups of milk or water, warm, not hot. Make sure you check it. See, this is warm. It's time for me to use it. And that's pretty much it for this step. 2 yeast, 1/4 cup of sugar, brown or white, or both, and a teaspoon of salt, okay? So we're going to add the yeast now. 2 packets of yeast we're going to put in here, okay? This is packet number 1. And you want to make sure you get it all in there, right? So we're going to open it up and dump it in. Like I said, Fleischmann's like the high-speed version of it, but, there's cheap ones out there. I did try the cheap ones. I didn't care for it myself. It did seem like maybe it was a little bit lower quality, I guess. I don't know. But I wasn't very impressed by it. Okay, now we got to hurry up here because we don't want the milk to get cold. So you'll take your 2 cups of milk and or water, pour it in your mixing bowl or whatever bowl you're using, doesn't matter. Okay, now what we're gonna do is I'd like to mix it mechanically for a little bit just to get it all mixed up because you want it mixed up. But just to make sure that it does get mixed up, I kind of take a spoon or a fork and I stir it. So while I do this, I'm just going to run over. I know I've said it numerous times, but all this is, to start off with, this is your first step. Well, this is your first, you get it. So, 1/4 cup of sugar, brown or white, teaspoon salt, 2 cups of water and or milk. No, not and or milk. And it's got to be warm, okay? Just don't overdo it. You can tell if it's warm, and I'm talking about easy warm to the touch kind of thing, okay? But if it's too hot, once again, it's not going to rise. And you're going to know almost immediately, once you really get going here, if your stuff's going to rise, okay? Now, I try to go ahead and get some spin here, okay? So I'm going to put on like 1. I'm going to let it work it for a little bit, I'm just going to let it work for a little bit. You don't want to take too long, but you do want the mixture to be mixed, Everything needs to be broken up and ready to go. Okay? And I just splashed shit all over the place. Let's not do that again. Okay. I'm just getting it off the sidewalls. I'm going to kick it back on and I'm going to let it go too. Okay, now. I'm going to rinse my measuring glass out so it's ready to go. I'm going to dry it too because you will need it for the flour. Or it doesn't matter. I have a big glass one and the cups. But it doesn't really matter which one you do. I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to let it do its thing. I'm going to wait a minute. It doesn't have to be mixed for a long time. You just want to make sure that everything is broken up and mixed into it. when I think it's been sufficiently mixed together. And you can also look in here. As you can see, it's definitely got some grain left in there. I don't know if you can tell. There's definitely some grains in there that could go ahead and be broken up. Just, you can tell too, those darker brown spots. But as you can see though also is that it is breaking it up. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. You know, but you don't want to overdo it. Just when you think it's sufficiently mixed up, it's time to switch up. See, I'm not seeing a lot of clumpsy in there, so it's definitely doing its job here. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to shut it off, okay, and I'm going to drop it down, okay. Now what you're looking for is bubbles. Now, that could be numerous things. I mean, while trying to explain this, you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do is, usually it takes about 30 minutes for it to start to bubble. You want to leave it alone and not play with it. You just want to let it sit there. I see you see some bubbles now. You'll see what I mean when I come back in 30 minutes. I'm going to consider this part 1. I'm going to come back in 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this one, and then I'll be back to continue the process.